Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating story about international diplomacy, a story that connects two laws that, on the surface, seem to have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Okay, so let's get right into the heart of the mystery here. How on earth does a massive U.S. defense law, we're talking about the budget for the entire military, end up containing very specific advice for an Indian nuclear law that was passed just 2 days earlier? It sounds strange, right? Well, it's a political puzzle, and we're going to piece it together. All right, to figure this out, we've got to start in India. The first piece of our puzzle is a brand new and pretty significant law that was just passed there. It's called the SHANTI Bill. And yeah, that's a mouthful, I know, but what you really need to know is this. It's a total game changer for India's nuclear rules. It completely overhauls the old way of doing things. So what does this new bill actually do? Well, it does two huge things. First, it opens the door for private companies to jump into India's nuclear energy sector. And second, and this is the really crucial part, it changes the rules on who pays and how much they pay if a nuclear accident were to happen. And get this, it puts a hard number on it. The bill sets a specific cap on how much a nuclear operator has to pay. That number is 3,000 crore rupees. This is a massive shift from the way things used to be, where the liability rules were much, much stricter. Now, you should know this bill did not go down smoothly. Not at all. It was super controversial. In fact, the opposition was so against it that they actually walked out of Parliament in protest, saying the bill needed way more review before becoming law. Okay, so that's piece number one of our puzzle. Now, let's jump across the globe to Washington, D.C., because at the exact same time, something else was happening that fits right into this story. We're talking about the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. And I mean, this thing is massive. It's the law that sets the entire budget for the U.S. Department of Defense every single year. You'd think it's all about American military stuff, right? Well, here's the kicker. Tucked away deep inside this enormous American law is this one little section about India. And it advises the U.S. Secretary of State to work with India to do something very specific, to, quote, align its domestic nuclear liability rules with international norms. Sound familiar? And just to be clear, this is not normal, like at all. India gets mentioned in the NDAA for defense cooperation all the time, but a specific mention of its domestic nuclear liability rules? No way. That hasn't happened in years. And it's a huge sign that something interesting is going on here. So let's pause for a second. You've got these two laws, passed an ocean apart within 48 hours of each other, and they just happen to be talking about the exact same thing in the exact same way. Coincidence? Well, some people definitely didn't think so, and it led to a pretty serious political accusation. I mean, just look at this timeline. It is razor thin. On December 18th, India clears the SHANTI Bill. Just 2 days later, on December 20th, the U.S. president signs the NDAA into law, the one that encourages the very changes that the SHANTI Bill just made. So, this timing, it was all the ammunition the Indian opposition needed. They basically said, see, we told you so. This quote from a prominent opposition member really spells it out. They accuse the prime minister of, in their words, bulldozing the bill through parliament to please the United States. Okay, so that's the accusation, but what's the full picture here? Let's take a step back and connect all the dots one by one to see how we got here. You see, this whole thing really kicks off way back in 2008 with that big nuclear deal between India and the US. Fast forward to today, and the SHANTI Bill changes India's rules to line up with international standards. And what does the new US law do? It cheers on that exact change. It's like a perfectly choreographed dance. So in the end, you're left with two totally different ways to look at this whole thing. On one side, you have the government's perspective, which is basically, hey, this is just smart policy. We're getting with the times and encouraging investment. But on the other side, you have the opposition's direct accusation that this was a law rammed through to please American companies. And that's really what this whole story boils down to. It leaves us with this really tough question, one that's at the very heart of global politics. Where do you draw the line between a strategic partnership and foreign influence? Is this just a country making a smart move to work with an ally? Or is it that country bending to pressure from a more powerful nation? It's a fascinating question, and one that doesn't have an easy answer.